I'm often asked, what's it take to start your own Excel consultancy? Because we get a lot of viewers who are looking at this and say, oh boy, what if, or I think I'm ready for this. Just given the wide range of guests we have on who actually also own their consultancies, and obviously myself and Oz, who have our own companies. So, Kevin, you've been in this game for a while, so I guess I have two questions. The first is, just high level, how do you start out if you want to do this? And the second question is, since you've been doing it so long, are the problems different now than they used to be? I mean, are they changing, or are they essentially all the same problem with kind of, new makeup on? I don't know how to say that, but, So those are the two questions to start out with you, and then everyone else will jump in.
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is you have to have a sense of purpose. You have to be driven. Okay, you've got to get out there and you've got to sell yourself. Okay, the best marketing overall is word of mouth, right? I can't tell you how many clients have come to me and said, so and so at some other company said you went in and did this thing with Excel and it was great. We want you. We've got a problem and we want you to help us solve this problem. And there's another customer, and then they'll tell a couple of people. So I'm thinking all the clients I have now, that's how every single client I have today, that's how I got them, was word of mouth through other clients who were happy with my work. I don't do any advertising. Now, which leads me to the second thing, which is you have to have if you really want to have a successful business, you've got to have a good web presence. My daughter, who's 21, the artist who designed the book cover, would tell you that you need to have good social marketing too. I'm an old guy. I don't know about that. I have a hard time getting into the social marketing part of it. I'll probably which leads me to a third thing, leverage. So I asked my daughter, okay, go do the social thing for me. Just make it happen, right? Because I don't really have a good feel for it. And so leveraging people, Zach and I, we leverage each other. We're calling each other up all the time, bouncing ideas and so on. So there's synergy, getting some synergy with a team. That's always a good thing. I mentioned best practices. Get your best practices together and walk in. Finally, I'd say probably the most important thing of all is setting good expectations. Expectations will kill you. It'll kill you with your wife, your girlfriend, your kids, the dog, and it'll certainly kill you with clients. If you don't have good, solid expectations, follow it up with an email, that kind of stuff. I can't tell you how many people I run into, adults, our age, my age, who say, well, I told them, I said, on a Tuesday afternoon, I said, did you follow it up with an email? No. Well, people forget. Things change. So, cross your T's and dot your I's and write emails and make sure those expectations are well set. And if you can't meet an expectation, let the client know. They'd much rather know where you are and that you're not going to get the stuff done until Tuesday than if they can't find you at all. That's when they start freaking out and they leave a bad taste in their mouth.
But Kevin, you had mentioned that all of your clients right now are word of mouth. So that's good for somebody who's had clients in the past. But how did you start off? How did you get your first few clients? How did you get started in this field?
Well, I found myself on the street basically. I left the company. I had a child. My daughter. This is 21 years ago, and my wife and I had a conversation. She was going to go back to work. I was going to stay home and consult. And so what I did was, the first thing I did was I consulted at the last company I was at. And then through a friend, I got another client, and then I worked for that person for a while. I remember at my first Excel gig, I went to a service here in the Bay Area. It may be broader now. It's called it's a Yahoo list. Not Craigslist. Oh, what's it called? I get an email every day still, and it's a job listing. So what I did was I went on there for a few weeks, and I'm looking at the jobs, and Kit List. That's what it's called, Kit List. And so I'm looking at that thing, and I saw a job. I think it was for Chevron, and it was through a middleman, some company in the city that just brought in consultants, individuals, and then they'd farm them out and they'd take a piece of the action. So I called them up and they said, "You're good, go in there," and I did. And then from there I got a job at Gap, and then from Gap I got a job at Home Automation, and then things just went from there, and pretty soon people are talking to people and so on. So you can't just sit, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to be a consultant and then wait for someone to call. You have to get out there, initially. But I didn't say this earlier, but a good website, get a little search engine optimization going on, get the search term thing, the search terms and whatever. Get a web presence. That will draw attention to you. Bill Jelen gets traffic all day long on his website. So
now there's just plain having a web presence, and then there's having an effective one. So what can you suggest about that? And then especially for somebody who's just starting, they probably don't have $10,000 to get a professional website, with a company that builds professional websites.
Well, I actually used to do search engine optimization before I got into heavy-duty Excel automation and SQL Server stuff. So I worked with a guy who was really, really good with doing search engine optimization. And one of the things I learned was that this was back when Google, everybody was trying to figure out how they did the Google PageRank, and they were trying to second guess it, and there were link farms and hidden text and so on. And Google, of course, was 2 steps ahead usually, and they'd blacklist websites, but they did certain things that really weren't fair. And what we discovered, the message was really, really simple. It was Google's whole purpose with the PageRank was to rank pages up high that were easy to read and that had clout in the community. So links, cross links, right? So cross links and easy to read pages, black text on a white background, not too much, not too little, not a lot of flash, just plain old text that was meaningful. And so that was our basic mantra with the search engine optimization, was just write a page that looks good and has your story on it. Don't do that engineering centric stuff. Just because you can have have bubbles floating around with your mouse or something, don't do it. Just keep it simple. Go to the best web pages like Apple, right? Look at Apple's site. Apple's site is brilliant. It's sparse. It's aesthetically pleasing. It's clean. To get the point across, you can navigate. Look at that. Get some inspiration from that guy. So there's my 2 cents on a good web page design.
So when you're starting out, it may be tempting to take every job that comes your way. How do you know when you have the right client? Should you take everything starting out, or should you be a lot more choice about it? And I sort of already know the answer to this, but I wanted to see what your opinion is.
God. Yeah, well, I had a nightmare client about almost 2 years ago now. I was brought in late because it wasn't managed well. The client was just, they were crazy. They had their idea of how we wanted. It was just a mess. And we at the end of the day, we really couldn't save it. It was so far down the tubes. If you don't have a good clientele, you got to take what you can get, and charge what you can charge, and then just do a good job and get it done and get a reference. Have a LinkedIn profile and get a reference on your LinkedIn profile. And as soon as you get a couple of those, you'll start. Speaking of LinkedIn, I've gotten a number of clients just through LinkedIn, just people searching LinkedIn. So make sure your LinkedIn page is I do know something about social marketing, I guess. Make sure your LinkedIn page is current. It's got a lot of detail in there. You got some references, and that'll go a ways to getting some people calling you. Once you have the people coming and enough so that you can start turning some away, then you can think about raising your rates and picking and choosing, which is what some of the more successful consultants that I know do. I hate to say this, but well, I'll just say it. The more you charge, the more valuable you are.
Sure. Yep.
And I don't want to encourage people to go charge, $300 an hour like lawyers do or whatever they're at now. But you don't walk into a company saying, I really need to work $25 an hour, right? Because they'll think, well, you're an amateur, and they don't want that. $80 is good, 120 is good, 150. You got to feel it a little bit. There's no real good right answer. It depends on the length of the contract or the job. It depends on what you're going to be doing. It depends on a few things. But don't undersell yourself. Make sure your rate is reasonable and makes you look good.
What do you think on that, Oz?
Man, I got so many thoughts about that, and it's been so long, because I remember, I was laid off, and I started this whole consulting idea, and I was a guy used to getting a salary, and then somebody says he needed something done. I told him, how about $30 an hour, and I let him bring me down to about 15. And I had no clue. And then I started saying $50 an hour, and then people are saying okay. So then I have tested over the years about where I just get plain no all the time versus a mix of okays and that's too much. But and it's also taken a while to determine what kind of clients I work best with. Because I haven't, I guess, I don't work well with ones that ask a whole lot of questions before they commit to anything. And I understand asking questions, but the first client that I turned down when I was flat broke, it just seemed like she was going to wait for that moment when she could pull me off because I've done all the hard stuff, and then she could finish all the easy stuff herself, versus allowing me to finish the job. That's the way that she was asking the question. So it wasn't the amount of questions. It wasn't that. It was the way that she was asking them. Just seemed like, yeah, she's gonna try to stop me right at that moment.
I have a comment to that. You're experiencing what we all experience as consultants, and that's that point where we're told to leave, or we're told to build something, and we really don't think it's quite the right thing, but they're insisting that that's what you got to do. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's the bad part about consulting. The good part is that we can make our own hours. We can we have different jobs. We go from one to another, so it's exciting. The excitement stays. That's cool. But the bad part is that more often than not, the project isn't really our ideal project, and you just got to grin and bear it, and you do the work. And
yep, I agree with that. And there's the here is exactly what you want, and then here is good enough, and then here, where can we be in the middle of that?
Oh, okay. And a comment to that is, if you believe that a client, if you think you need to build X, A, B, and C, but they only want A and B, and you perceive C to be pretty darn important to the solution, and they say no, we just can't afford it, we don't want it, whatever. As a good consultant, we want to go in there and we want to say, all right, I'm with you on this. I'll do what you want to do. However, you got to understand, here's my take on what will happen later on down the road if you don't do C. And you let them know. You don't get emotional about it. You just, matter of fact, here's the pros and cons of whatever. You'll save money, but you won't have this, and so on and so forth. Then you're done. Your job is done. That's it.
Well, the one thing that I would say about that is when it's like critical stuff. You know, like if it's saying build me out this interface and put the math in and don't do any validation, none of that, I'm not paying for validation. Well, I can't do that job because as soon as I walk away, it's going to take an hour before that's broken.
Yep, I've had that happen to me as well, and my solution to that is, okay, I will, in order to get a good review and in order to not have something broken a month down the road, I will put in a few of my own hours and I'll just do it anyway. So, you know, it's different every time.
Okay, I got a comment, then I want to pass it over to Jordan. You know, Oz, you serve that up as a negative thing, but quite honestly, I see it as being the most positive thing about being a consultant.
Okay.
Look this off your list, Kevin. You get to leave. You get to get out of Dodge when it's all done, man. That could be a good thing.
Yeah.
Especially if you hate somebody. You hate the job, you hate whatever else, man, you get to go. So, Jordan, you had a question?
Yeah. So one of the questions I asked early on that I just wanted to hear everyone's thought on is, you know, are the problems that clients are asking, are they different now than they used to be? I mean, are you solving different problems? Are they changing? You know, now in the era of big data, I hate saying that, but you guys think that the problems are changing? Like, you know, a few years ago, I don't think people were as interested in the interactive applications that I'm making now. I mean, I know dashboards are a buzzword. People seem to be more interested in that stuff. So what do you all think? You know, are the problems changing? Are they going to continue to change?
Well, I'll jump in because I like Rick bringing up the idea about the negative. You know, because yeah, I talk a lot about the troubles, but there are some great things. It is great to be able to go in and help an organization to build something that it takes them 90 minutes a week instead of 6 hours a week because of something that we work together to build. Beautiful. But have things changed? See, this is the thing I put on LinkedIn yesterday, that small data is still here. You still have to know, you know, the restaurant has to know how many rolls of paper towel they have, you know. They still have to know, and if they can't account for half of all the paper towel rolls, somebody's stealing. That's not big data.
Did you guys see the article that somebody interviewed some hotshot at Google who's responsible for Google Apps, and the dude says, our mission, our goal, and we're going to do it, is we're going to get 80% of Microsoft Office users. Do you see that article?
No.
No.
Yeah, 80%. Because they say, or 90%. It was some outrageous number, and the reason is they have metrics to show that the vast majority of Excel users really are not interested at all in big data, and a lot of them aren't even interested in medium-sized data.
That's a different conversation. That's a whole different conversation. I bet you Otis Campbell, he staggered into the Mayberry jail and wrote that while Barney Fife was sitting at the desk. That's who wrote that.
I don't even get that. I'm sorry.
You didn't watch the Andy Griffith show? Man, George,
he's young.
Nick at Night?
But see, the big data, Excel, all of this stuff, that's a whole different conversation. When Jordan is talking about these interactive applications, you know, that's not big data. That's interactive applications, and that's where you need a table and to get your face up out of the dog dish. you gotta, you know, because I've seen it where somebody has gotten in too deep with Google, and it's hard to get out because they're gonna have to move all the documents, all the calculations, and change all the sharing and stuff. They're in too deep with that nonsense. But there's some fundamental things that Excel does that Google does not do, unless you're a developer. Now, see, that's the trick. That's the lie that's being covered up. Is in order to get dependent drop-down lists with Google that are robust, you have to be a developer.
So, Rick, you've been doing BI for a while. Are the problems different? What do you think?
Oh, is that for me?
Yeah.
Gosh, well, there's nothing new under the sun. You know,
Yeah.
all things are the same. But you know, are there different ways that you attack the problem, and do we all kind of learn from the last person who wrote the last book? Sure. I mean, I think there's incremental knowledge that goes on, and I'll accept that. But for the most part, I mean, people are still solving the same problems in about the same way. They're just using a different technology to do it. I mean, if you listen to Stephen Fuse as an example, you know, there really is no big data. What is it? It's just more of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just gonna. Is it really even worth having a new term? You know, it's okay. So you got more of it now. Of course, there's always more of something later on. You know, big deal. And so, is there really anything new under the sun? There's always something new to learn, and I think that's cool. I like that. It makes it interesting. I can't wait to dig in. But no, I mean, if you're an analyst, you kind of geek on this stuff, and yeah, that's cool.
You figure it out.